Have you ever stopped to wonder what invisible forces are at play that decide the price of, well, everything? Your morning coffee, your rent, the phone in your hand? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the economy. In this explainer, we're diving into the basic blueprint of microeconomics, those core forces of supply and demand that really do determine the price of everything around us. Okay, let's get into it.
It all starts with a really simple question, just like this one. Why does a coffee cost what it costs? And believe me, this isn't some abstract thought exercise. It's a real-world puzzle. And microeconomics, well, it gives us the tools to solve it. Understanding the answer to this is the key to seeing how markets actually work every single day.
So, to build that understanding, we first have to lay down some groundwork. You see, economists pretty much all agree on three core principles. Think of them as the fundamental rules of the game for analyzing almost any economic problem. Let's break them down.
Now, this gives us a great visual for these three pillars: optimization, equilibrium, and something called empirical validation. A good way to think about these is like the basic code that runs the market's entire operating system. When you put them all together, they create this really powerful framework for understanding why people and businesses make the choices they do.
First up is optimization. Honestly, this just means that everyone, you, the coffee shop owner, even the government, is trying to do the best they can with what they've got. We all face limits, right? We have a budget, we have limited time, and because of that, we have to make choices, or what economists call trade-offs. So, optimization is really just about making the best possible decision you can, given those limitations in the info you have at hand.
Next up, we've got equilibrium. This is a state of, well, perfect balance. Just imagine a busy market where every single buyer has found a seller, they both agree on a price, and nobody's left wanting. That's equilibrium. It's a situation where everyone is making their best choice at the very same time, so nobody has a reason to change what they're doing. It's the market's natural, stable, and super efficient resting point.
And the third principle is empirical validation. And this one is so important. It basically means that economics isn't just a bunch of theories on a chalkboard. It's all about testing those ideas against what's actually happening in the real world. Economists use data, they use graphs, they use statistical models to see if their theories hold up. I mean, after all, a model is only useful if it actually helps explain the world we all live in, right?
Okay, so with those principles in mind, let's move on and see how this all builds up. We're now ready to meet the two main characters in any market story: the buyers who create demand, and of course the sellers who create supply.
So let's start with demand. This graph you're looking at is the demand curve, and it is a cornerstone of economics. See how it slopes downwards? That shows a really simple but powerful idea. As the price of something goes down, people are usually willing to buy more of it. And of course, the opposite is true. When the price goes up, the amount people want to buy goes down. Makes sense.
But here's the thing, price isn't the whole story. As this diagram shows, lots of other things can influence our buying decisions. Things like your income, the price of substitutes, like tea instead of coffee, your personal taste, and even what you expect to happen in the future. Any of these can shift the entire demand curve, which means people might want more or less of a product at any given price.
Now let's flip over to the other side of the market, supply. The supply curve, as you can see, slopes in the complete opposite direction. It goes upwards. This totally reflects the producer's point of view. When the price of something goes up, sellers get more motivated to produce and sell more of it because, hey, they can make a bigger profit. And when the price falls, they're willing to supply less.
And just like demand, supply isn't set in stone. It's influenced by a few key things. The cost of production, like wages or raw materials, that's a huge one. So is technology. A new, more efficient coffee machine can really boost supply. And of course, the number of sellers in the market also plays a massive role in shifting that supply curve.
Okay, so we've got buyers pulling in one direction and sellers pulling in the other. So what happens when these two powerful forces actually meet? Well, this brings us to probably the most important point on the whole map, the equilibrium.
And this graph, it shows that magic moment just perfectly. The exact spot where the supply and demand curves cross paths, that is the market equilibrium. This single point tells us two absolutely critical things: the price that buyers and sellers will naturally settle on, and the quantity that will be bought and sold. This is that sweet spot where the market is running at its most efficient.
But what happens if the price isn't at that equilibrium? Let's say the price of coffee is just too high. This creates what's called a surplus. Sellers have way more coffee than people want to buy, so now they're stuck with all this unsold inventory. What's the logical next step? They lower the price. And as the price drops, more people are willing to buy, and the market naturally starts to move back down to that stable equilibrium point. And guess what?
The exact same kind of self-correction happens in the opposite situation. If the price is too low, we get a shortage. Suddenly, everyone wants the cheap coffee, but there just isn't enough to go around. Sellers see this massive demand, so they have a huge incentive to raise the price. As the price goes up, fewer people want to buy, more sellers want to sell, and bam, the market climbs right back to equilibrium. It's a really powerful, self-stabilizing system. So now that we get how markets find their balance, we can bring in a new concept. And this one is a real game changer for business strategy. It's called elasticity. And it's basically a tool for measuring just how responsive buyers are to any changes in price.
This slide shows the difference perfectly. Take a look at the graph on the left. That's an elastic or sensitive demand curve. See how it's relatively flat? That means even a small price change causes a big shift in the quantity people want to buy. Now look at the graph on the right. This inelastic curve is much steeper. In this case, even a big price change doesn't affect the quantity demanded all that much.
But you know, elasticity isn't just one thing. This table breaks down the 3 main types, and each one answers a really critical business question. Price elasticity asks, how sensitive are my customers if I change the price? Income elasticity asks, is my product a luxury or is it a basic necessity? And cross-price elasticity asks, if my competitor changes their price, how's that going to affect my sales? Super useful stuff.
So how do we actually measure this? Well, we use a formula like this one for price elasticity. Now, we're not going to get lost in the math here, but the key idea is that it calculates the percentage change in how much people want, divided by the percentage change in price. This gives us a specific number that tells a business exactly how sensitive its customers are. And here are some real-world examples to make this all a bit more tangible. Vacations are elastic. A price drop can cause a huge jump in bookings, which is why you see airlines having sales all the time. But goods like fuel or electricity are inelastic. We pretty much need them, so price changes don't really alter how much we use. And public transport is a classic inferior good. As our incomes go up, we tend to use it less.
So here's the crucial takeaway. Understanding whether your product has elastic or inelastic demand, that is not just some academic exercise. It literally defines your entire pricing strategy. If your product is inelastic, like a life-saving medicine, you have significant pricing power. If it's elastic, like a specific brand of cereal, you're going to have to compete on volume, on promotions, and on staying just a little bit cheaper than your rivals. This one concept is an absolute cornerstone of business strategy.
So, we've covered the blueprint, right? The core principles, that dance between supply and demand, and the incredible strategic power of elasticity. These forces are shaping the prices of everything you buy every single day. So the final question is, now that you can see the blueprint, which prices in your own life are you going to start to see a little differently?